Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, hey.
How are you?
I am good. I am good. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Great. I'm excited to have you here.
Thanks.
Excited
Thanks.
to have you. So we are live now, I take it. Live.
We are. We are live.
Hello, welcome everyone. Hello. So, ladies and look, there's going to be some gentlemen watching from some different areas this evening live with
Possibly,
us.
yeah.
So, welcome everyone tonight to our live visual podcast. This evening, I have Shay Owens, who is a certified and relationship coach, and she's going to be talking to us tonight about love and marriage and all that's in between. I cannot wait to hear about the in between. We hear so much about
Lord.
marriage, but let's talk about that. What happens in between? So I'm
Right.
excited about that. So tell us something about yourself, Shay.
Well, first and foremost, Arlena, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show. I appreciate it. I think that it's so important, to talk about love and marriage because love in the wrong hands is worse than hate. And I say that so often. A person who loves you or you love can really do some serious damage. So that's really the in between. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I am Shay Owens. I am a certified life and relationship coach, and I am also a motivator. I do public speaking, hence, not since COVID started, but I do public speaking as well. Talking about mental health, talking about well being, talking about setting boundaries, and of course, love, right? Relationships as well. I also do run my own podcast called Unscripted. I have my own media group called Unscripted Media Group. As well, which is what we're running this through as well. And I also have a book coming out. I'm self publishing it thanks to COVID
That's amazing.
called Don't Let the I Do Become the I Don't. And it's really geared towards effective communication in relationships, right? So, a little bit about me is that I am on my third marriage right now. The first time I got married, I was 19. We divorced shortly after. I met my second husband at 24, got married at 30, and was divorced from him by the age of 32, I believe it was. And in both of those marriages, I lost myself. In both of those marriages, I went through domestic abuse on both ends, it was from my end and also on their end as well. And so I understand that I had to be broken purposely and go through the things that I went through so that I can be doing what I'm currently doing now because I really genuinely have a deep care for mental health. I have a deep care and concern for love and relationships. And I really am desperate to see marriages succeed, and not just marriages, but relationships, whether that's relationships with a significant other or whether or not it's a relationship between friends. We all encounter these different types of relationships, and how we handle them really speaks to who we are. So that's why I actually do what I do now. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving it. I thank God for the opportunity that He Himself trusts me enough to be able to go into others' lives and help them through the brokenness, through the hardships, through the misunderstandings, and really go in and help them get to another level. So that's why I'm excited,
Oh, wow.
excited
Such an
about
amazing
tonight.
testimony about how you have overcame two broken marriages and is
Yes.
now on your third marriage. And I assume everything is just wonderful with third time's the charm.
Third time is a charm, but let's talk about that in between. So my husband and I, we have a blended family,
Mm,
and we dated long distance. So there's a lot of things that we did not get to know about one another before we got married. Yes, the love was there, the trust was there, the communication, so we thought was there. Um, but really living with each other, we realized that we are completely different in so many areas. Like I'm a little OCD, and he's not. He's
mhm.
the opposite of that, and then the way we discipline is different. So that's that in between stuff that people really don't talk about ahead of time. We were very open and very transparent with one another. I came in before I got married and I was like, look, this is what I need. Boom, 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 boom. Because I had been down this road before. And so had he. He actually had lost his previous wife to cancer. And so when I met him, he was still in that process of, like grieving and going through that. So dealing with that, dealing with his previous, marriage from when he was much younger as well. But both of us knowing that we wanted a family, we knew that first God had to be our foundation. God,
Absolutely.
God had to be our foundation. We spoke about a lot of things. We spoke about domestic abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse. We spoke about so many different areas before we got married because for us, we wanted this to be our last. Like, yeah, we had, I call mine situationships because I got married in the past because of a situation. It what didn't mean that I didn't love them.
Mhm.
It's just that my first one, I was 19, I was pregnant. My grandfather, who's a pastor, a bishop, actually, he was flying in and we were living together. And it was like, oh, no, we can't do that. Let's go get married. So that was a situationship, right? And we were very young. And then the second one also, I'm not going to go into his business, but he was going through some legal things. And it was kind of like we had to get married when we did. Our wedding was planned in like 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is the first time that I can actually say that I got married for the right reasons, for love. It's not a situationship. And so going into that, my mindset was different. Of course, I was older and I didn't want another failed relationship. But what I knew that I wasn't going to do is I wasn't going to allow someone to break me mentally. I wasn't going to allow
Mhm.
abuse to enter into my life and be okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I love how you break it down as far as situationships. I've never thought of some
Yeah.
relationships that way, but people do often get into relationships and
Hmm.
marriages based off of a situation. So those right
Absolutely.
there are very real.
Absolutely. And, something that I always say is we look at social media. So many of us are on social media all day
Mhm.
long. Some of us are posting, some of us are scrolling, right? So what happens with the scrollers is they keep looking, oh, this person's happy. Oh, this person's happy. This person's happy. This marriage is doing this. This marriage is doing that. This relationship is doing this. And what's really happening is we begin to compare subconsciously, we begin to compare what it is that our spouse is or is not doing based off of what we see someone else doing.
Which is nine times out of 10, not even true in their situation because, most people
Hmm.
don't post who they really are, they post who they want to be.
Absolutely. Like I'm very transparent. If anyone was to follow me or go back on my pages, I'm very transparent about things that I've been through in life, from having suicidal thoughts to wanting to commit suicide to, taking drugs or drinking, being in different marriages. So I'm very transparent
Mhm.
in my journey of what my journey has looked like, right? I'm not social media happy. There are times where you may not see me post for a while, and that's because maybe I'm dealing with my own thing, right? And so I never want to become this fake quote unquote coach to act like my world is gravy and it's really not. We have our own hiccups. My husband and I, we're growing and we're trying to learn. This is still new. We're 3 years in and we're still learning one another. We're still consistently growing, but we're having those hard conversations, as well, because I think that in those transparent moments, it sets a firm foundation on healing, on restoration, and it gives your relationship that thing that will sustain you over a period of time. We do have other couples that we've known, and they've been married 10 times longer than we have. And yet, when we sit down and we have these conversations with them, I've had a couple to tell me, well, I had a woman, I'm not going to say a couple, I've had a lady to tell me that she wishes her relationship was like mine. And mind you, she had years on me.
Oh, wow.
And it's because we're transparent, we have our moments, but the difference is we don't stay in those moments.
No, you have to live and
Yeah,
then you learn. So and you just keep learning and you apply what you've learned to your relationship in order for it to become stronger, better, and more fruitful for you.
absolutely, absolutely. And what I see a lot of times happens is someone's with someone for so long and then they get the shut up ring,
Mm,
right? Because they're at that period of 2, 3 years, a year and a half, whatever it is. And the woman starts putting a little bug in the ear, or even the man sometimes. Sometimes the man wants to get married before she does. And so therefore the ring comes and it's the shut up ring, which means that there's no future date planned for the actual marriage to take place. This ceremony I'm referring to, because when my husband and I, when he put the ring on it, honey, that happened on Thanksgiving Day in front of my entire family.
mhm.
He put a ring on it. And I want to say by that weekend, we had a date set.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm like, look, we're not doing this because, again, we were dating long distance. I'm like, I am not going to be the one that moves for somebody because you put a ring on it. Like, no, I need to know that you are fully committed. I need to know that you are fully invested because, again, I'm not getting any younger. And this is my third marriage. This is his third marriage. So what are we doing, boo?
Also, it's third for both. So it really is. It's a double charm. Double
It
charm.
really is. It really is.
Yeah, I think I found that in some, I won't say all relationships, but a lot of relationships and situationships, I
Yeah.
found that there are people who I think women go into a relationship thinking that they can change a man and you can't. And men go into a relationship thinking that the woman will never change, and she does. People grow. If you don't
Hmm.
grow, if you don't change, there's no growth. So you're going to change because you're constantly growing.
Right.
And what happens is you don't grow together. So when you're not growing together in a relationship, you're growing apart.
Right.
So
Right.
it's either grow
Absolutely.
together or grow apart, but you're going to grow.
Absolutely. You're going to change. It doesn't mean you're going to grow.
Yeah. Hmm.
You may change, but change for the worse.
Yeah.
Some people do change. If you were
Absolutely.
with the wrong person, they can bring out the worst in you. And that brings me to, the different points that we were going over earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and put that point up, is know who you are before you get married. Know
Hmm.
what you want, what you need, and what you desire ahead of time, because a lot of times what happens is, oh, I'm so in love, whether it's him or her, I'm so in love, we're going to just be happy, it's going to be roses, we're going to have the white picket fence, and then you get lost in the relationship itself. You are so consumed with the relationship that you don't know what
Hmm.
you like anymore. I remember someone asking me one time, not in this marriage, but a previous one, and they were like, "What makes you happy?" And I'm like, "My husband and my children." But what makes you happy? Spending time with them. Well, what makes you happy? Oh, I like taking them to the park. Like my entire self being was wrapped in that. So what happens is when the kids start acting up, when the husband starts acting up, or the boyfriend or the fiance, or the girlfriend or the wife, when they start acting up and your whole world is revolving completely
Hmm.
around them, now your emotions are all out of whack. Now you don't know what to do because your world is not the same. So you have to
Yeah.
know
Hmm.
and find that thing that balances you out. Find that thing that gives you peace. For many people, it's prayer. For some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's work. For some people, it's exercise. For some people, it's eating, that comfort eating, which comes with weight gain and all that other stuff.
Hmm.
But you have to know what it is that makes you happy so that you don't become lost in just the relationship, because the relationship and the marriage are two different things.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
It's two completely different things. So, yeah, I definitely would say have your own identity, know who you are. Um, Communication is also going to be your best friend.
Hmm.
You want to make sure that you communicate your wants, your needs, your desires. You want to make sure that um, the way that you communicate, I explain this to my clients a lot of times, is we feel like just because we're talking, that that's communicating, and it really isn't. It really is not,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a spirit called the Leviathan spirit that comes in and will twist your words. So by the time you say it, they hear it, and then you're like, I didn't say that. What are you talking about? Now you have an argument going because this person now trying to tell you what you said, and you're like, I didn't say that, or vice versa. You also have to be able to communicate um, in those hard times. You know, a lot of times our emotions, we get wrapped up in our emotions. We get wrapped up in our feelings. You know, I'm quick to tell somebody, get out your feelings. Your feelings will steer
Mm-hmm.
you down the wrong path every single time if you're caught up in that. Take a moment, take a breath, pause, and breathe. You know, because if you're wrapped up in your feelings, you're going to say something the wrong way. And I've been guilty of this. My husband has told me, like, I don't like how you said that.
Oh,
I don't
so
like it.
delivery.
Yeah, my delivery, I'm a very direct person. So I say there's two types of people who conversate. They have a paragraph type of person and they have a bullet point type of person, right? A paragraph type of person is going to give you the whole world before
Mm-hmm.
they get to the point. I'm a bullet point type of person. I'm going to get right to the point about what I'm saying, what I need, what I desire. And sometimes in doing so, it comes out very sharp, right? So I've had to learn how to soften it up. I might put a little babe on it, or, you know, I will take a moment now to breathe, because I would say year 2 for my husband and I was probably our hardest year.
Wow. And
You
you're on
know,
year 3 now?
we're on year 3, right? But year 2 was definitely, it was so hard. I was even questioning whether or not I should even be a coach. I'm like, I can't even get my husband to act right. Should I be doing this?
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it
So,
was.
how long did you date before you got engaged and married?
We dated. It was about a year that we actually dated, and then once we
Okay.
got engaged, there was like another 6 month period before we actually. Well, no, it was almost 2 years from the point that we actually started dating until we got married. It was almost 2 full years.
Okay.
Yeah, that we actually got married, and that actually brings us to one of our questions that we received earlier,
Mm-hmm.
um, as well as how long should you date before you get married? That's totally up to you.
Mm-hmm.
No relationship is the same. Um, my question would be to the person that asked this question is, are you both on the same page? Do you both feel the same about marriage? Or do you want to get married and they don't? They're not quite ready for it. Or do they want to get married, but you're not quite ready? If one or the other person is not quite ready, don't do it. Don't
Right.
do it. Just wait it out. Wait it out. If the relationship is going to last, it's going to last. But do it when both of you are ready, because think about it like this. I heard this question on someone else's page, and it said, if you knew without a shadow of a doubt that you could not get divorced, would you still get married? And I was like, ooh, if
Mm.
you know that divorce was not an option at all, would you still take the time out to get married? So many people know that they can get divorced and that is their out.
Right.
But what have you just done? If you have children or if your families get along, like you've broken up
Mm-hmm.
more than just you and that other person. So I would say that dating before marriage is you were both ready to make that commitment and truly understand what your commitment to one another looks like. Now, that doesn't mean that you take everything that the person serves you, right? So for me, I have deal breakers. Cheating is a deal breaker for me. Putting your hands on me is a deal breaker for me.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my deal breakers. Someone who is a consistent liar. We all tell fibs here and there. Everybody does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But someone who consistently lies is a deal breaker for me. So, but cheating is probably my number one. The other things I can probably work through, even though it's hard to say that. Um, but definitely cheating. So know what your deal breakers are and have those conversations. So that way you don't go into it just because you love them. Like it takes more than love to sustain a marriage.
It
You
does.
know,
And I wonder how many people actually have those conversations about, how long they're willing to wait before marriage. If you've been in a
hmm
long-term relationship with someone,
hmm
especially when one person is wanting to get married and the other one is probably thinking, okay, well, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free?
right. And that is again setting that boundary. What
Hmm.
are you okay with? What is your self worth? Are you
Yeah.
doing it because maybe you're not financially stable? Are you staying with a person because you have a child with them, but you know that this is not somebody you really want to be
Hmm.
with long, like you don't want them to have your last name, you don't want to carry their last name. So I think real conversations need to go in how before marriage, real conversations need to be had. Talk about finances, talk about people popping up at your house. My husband and I had the same conversation. Like, he had a friend one time come to his house while we were dating long distance, and he didn't know she was coming over. And I'm like, "You're okay with that?" He was like, "Yeah, that's like my sister." And I'm like, "But you okay with?" I was like, "Well, just letting you know before I get there, I'm not okay with people just randomly popping up at my house.
Hmm.
I don't care who you are. It
Right.
better be an emergency if you knock on my door and I don't know you're coming. That's just for me. But again, it's important to have those conversations. So if someone wants to get married, like if you want to get married and they don't, or they want to get married and you don't, then what is the real reason? What is the why that's stopping the other person from not wanting to get married?
Mm.
What is the why? Like my husband, when he met my mom, he made it very clear that he doesn't date for sport, which means he ain't out here ho hopping around.
Absolutely. Uh-huh.
He wasn't trying to just get up in the goodies and all of that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? He said he's a better person in a relationship. So he already knew in dealing with me that that was going to be his standard. And if
Right.
I
Mhm.
wasn't willing to get married, then we had no reason to have a conversation. Like, why are we even still doing this? So
Absolutely.
underlining reason as the why in it, I think is going to be most important in identifying how long someone should date. Now, if you're brand new in a relationship, this is not the 30s, 40s, and 50s when you can meet somebody for 3 weeks and get married to them and stay married. Like, it's just different.
Mhm.
It is so different. People change personalities, right? Somebody said, "What's the point of the relationship?" I totally agree. What is the point of the relationship? But you know what? To that defense, some people are okay with not being married. For them, they feel like that piece of paper will change something for them. And really, it doesn't. It just makes you have a commitment.
Absolutely. So you can't keep chasing the marriage part, especially if you're in a relationship and your relationship is rocky, if
hmm
one of you is constantly straying, or if one of you can never hold down a job, or there's always something going
Right.
on, guess what? It's going to happen in the marriage too. You can't just say, well, okay, I'm going to get married. If I get married, once we say I do, all of that changes, and there's no autocorrect
The
on
pub, right. The
relationship.
certificate and the ring does not fix the problem. It
It
actually enhances it because now the person feels
Mhm.
like you ain't gonna go nowhere. You're gonna take what I give you and that's it. So
Absolutely.
one of the other questions was, how do I get my man who strays to stay home? Baby girl, you can't. There's nothing that you can do to make him stay home. My question to you would be, was he doing this when you met him? And is that how you got him? Were you his side piece? If you were, that's an indication he's probably gonna keep doing it and keep doing it to you. My second question would be to you is, what is your self-worth? You should
Mhm.
love yourself enough and become priority enough for yourself to not allow someone else to stray.
Mhm.
Period.
Mhm.
Period. I don't there's nothing you can do. Look, this is my baby girl. That's my daughter.
A man who wants to stay will stay. I
Absolutely. That's my
second that
baby girl.
so
Absolutely. That's
yeah.
my oldest daughter. So look, she's seen her mama go through a lot.
Uh-huh.
I did not sugarcoat my things that I went through. I had my daughter very young and I didn't sugarcoat things, but she's absolutely right. If he wants to stay, he's gonna do right. He's going to stay. He's going to do everything that he needs to do. You should not have to fight for his attention. You should not. Now, you may say, hey, you slacking a little bit. I need you to step up your game. That's okay to say that. But you shouldn't have to fight and beg and plead for this man to do right by you. You have to know your self-worth, period.
But now when you say you're slacking a little bit, it's not like, hey, you're sleeping with 10 women now when it used to be 3.
No. I'm not talking about
talking
sleeping with
that,
anybody.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about, again, about like, hey, baby, you're not as romantic as you used to be. Or, hey, leaving your socks on the floor. Can you start picking? Things like that, right? Little reminders, things that we need. Because we all get comfortable. We all stop doing something that we did in the beginning. Each one of us. And it takes work. It takes actionable steps in order to make sure that the relationship is going to continue to move forward, as well. So back to the question, there's nothing that you can do whatsoever to make somebody stay home.
Yes.
When they've been out there straying.
Yeah. I always say a man who does not want to be kept cannot be kept.
And a woman.
Yes, a man or a
women
woman.
out here too.
Anybody.
Absolutely.
Anybody in a relationship, if that's not where, listen, people spend their time with who they want to be with and where they want to be.
Absolutely.
So if a man is constantly straying, the person he is straying with, he's there because he wants to be there. It's not because I'm going to see my child or, we got all these kids, I'm helping her out with it. No, this man is there because he wants to be there with this woman. It could be a case of, hey, I'm with you, but I want to be with her too. So are you going to, is this a relationship that you're able to tolerate? Because if you can't, then 9 times out of 10, it's best to just leave.
Absolutely. Look, somebody else said absolutely. Yeah. Very, very, very true. We have actually quite a few questions, so we're going to go ahead and jump into those as well. Ooh, somebody said blended family drama. I know a little bit about this, y'all. So again, between my husband and I, we have 6 children. Okay. That means we have some baby mamas and baby daddies. I don't have no issues on my end. I came into my relationship drama free.
Okay.
On the flip side, I didn't walk into a drama free type of relationship from the other end. Now, we don't have to ever talk about the person, and the reason being is because my husband makes me feel secure in what we have first. Secondly, he makes sure that he never places me in a situation that's gonna have me pop off on somebody. The old shade don't need to come out at all, and so he always makes sure if there's something going on, that he is my protector at the end of the day.
Okay, so he's there and he has his wife's back.
Absolutely. And even when I was his girlfriend, he had my back. And not in a disrespectful way. Like, you don't have to be disrespectful or ride over to somebody's house and just do all kind of crazy. That is unnecessary.
But he didn't leave you out on a limb with someone coming.
Not at all. Not at all. Never. I've never had that situation happen. But a lot of times when we think of blended family drama, we think of the baby mama or the baby daddy acting up. Sometimes it's the kids. The kids don't always get along because they have their biological parent. Unless the other person was there from birth, it can be very difficult. It's a very delicate subject. Like my husband and I think that's why year 2 was so hard for us, because we are a blended family and a lot of our issues did come from the children, who last year were 14 and 12. 14, 12, and 10. So that was the age range that we really had to deal with. There is another a young girl as well, who at that time was 16. And that's, again, that battle where it's like, I don't want to be around.
What ages do they range from? May I
Girl, let me hold up 6 fingers, honey. We got 6 kids, right?
ask?
So my daughter's gonna kill me. So we have from in the 20s, so we have the 2 grown kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we have 4 younger ones. So one is almost 18, and then we have the younger ones. I choose not to put their ages out there. I'm like Mama Bear. I'm very protective, but we do
Mm-hmm.
have 2 children in 20s, one almost at an adult age, and we have 3 that are like 16 and younger.
Younger. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm Mama Bear
So
with
they
that.
run from preteen to 20s.
Right. But the 20-year-olds, they're grown.
Right.
I've raised them. So they weren't a part of um where they had to live in the house under the blended family. It's
Okay.
just the younger 3 that we've had that hiccup. So for me, it was like, for us, it was trying to find that balance. Can I say this or can I say this? How do I discipline, when
Oh, yeah.
technically they're not my child? So I don't want to overstep that boundary. I don't want to make them feel
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. Or I discipline this child harder than I do these kids. So
Mm-hmm.
that was like our biggest struggles, in that moment.
And
Really
I know
going
with
with
some
that.
kids, there's been issues of, favoritism. They think that, one parent does more for their
Yeah.
biological kids than they do for the spouse's
Right.
biological kids.
And sometimes that is the case. Like, I think in our case, that was the case. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't so much that we were doing more, but I think sometimes our tone was a little bit different.
Yes.
How we handled things was a little bit different with the biological. Um, we're going to definitely get to that next question as well. Santa Barrel Jones, we will get to your question in just 1 second here. I think that if the children know that they can play on the relationship between you and your husband or you and your wife, they're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like my daughter, who is in her teenage years, she knows there's certain things she can go ask my husband, and then there's certain things she can come ask me. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more stern with the men in her life. She has like her grandfather and him,
Yeah.
kind of wrapped around that finger a little bit. He is stern, but that's his baby girl.
Right.
So kids will play on one another. But what we've done coming out of year 2, going into year 3, is we've made sure that between us, we are good.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about things more so now, like we have a rule at a certain time, the phones need to come out, get put up because it's going into nighttime. So it's like, hey, I'm giving them an extra hour. You good with that? Okay. Hey, this person is doing this. Are you okay with, like, we're starting
Oh, I
to,
love the rules. Love it.
yeah, we're starting to, because I'm a softie. Even my oldest kids, they would be like, Mom, all you did was talk, I have moments where I would discipline, but I'm a softie as far as sticking to if I pull the phone away or something, or I put on punishment,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
usually off,
Mhm.
So I'm a softie in that. But I think the biggest thing with dealing with blended family drama is staying connected, you two,
Mm-hmm.
no
Yes.
one else, not his mama, not your mama, not the baby mama, it's you two. If
Yes.
you say, I'm going to give this child, or I'm going to give this baby mama or this baby daddy this much room, then that's all you better give them. Don't
Right.
step outside of that. Don't do things on a sneak tip. Have a conversation and talk to them,
Right.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. Have a conversation. So Santa said she loves that comment. Yes. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put her question up now. How do we handle lack of communication and affection,
Oh,
girl?
lack of both
But you know what? It happens.
communication
I
and
work with,
affection. Yes,
they kind of go hand in hand. If
they
you
do.
don't communicate what you need, right? So
Yeah.
men's thought process of affection, because Santa, I have dealt with this in my marriage currently, right? Like, baby, I need more. I need
Mhm.
the small rubs, but it's how I'm communicating with it. Men like their ego stroked. So if you were in a marriage, I'm not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend. I handled those a little bit differently.
Mhm.
But when you deal with your husband, um, or husbands, if you're dealing with your wife and you're looking for that thing that they need, first and foremost, you have to understand the love languages between the two of you. You have to know, like, my love language is acts of service, right? So my husband knows anytime that I get ready to do a recording, anytime that I'm working at my computer, he brings me my tea. Mind you, I already had my cup down here of juice, but he knows that this is my go-to. And so he's learned, like, okay, that's my love language. If I come upstairs and the kitchen is clean, or if I'm washing dishes and he knows my love language. And in return, he's more of words of affirmation. So I'm working on that. I'm working on stroking that ego, because a lot of men want the stroking of the ego. So how do we deal with the lack of communication and affection? First and foremost, if you're saying, how do you handle that, Santa? If you're saying, what is it that you do? You go into prayer. You have to go into prayer and ask God to help you deal with your own emotions, and ask him, how do you communicate to your husband? How do I get this man to help to understand? Because you can't do anything. Everything has to be done within your husband. He has to want to get better. He has to want to give you more affection and attention, and intimacy. And the way that you go about doing that, and people may laugh, but prayer works. There's times, I don't know if you've seen the movie War Room.
Right.
But in the movie War Room, she goes into prayer about her husband's infidelity, and and God begins to change him. God begins to do a work in him, not in her, but in him. And in that whole time, she's remaining positive. She's remaining patient. It is a very difficult and touchy subject. I would tell you, Santa, to also get with somebody else. If you're willing to seek a coach or a therapist or some type of counseling, I would recommend that, because sometimes that person can say something that will be his aha moment. You know, I remember having a conversation with a couple, just some friends, and we were up till, 2, 3 in the morning just talking, but we were talking about sex and intimacy. And what she had said, I broke it down to him in another way. And he was like, oh my God, like, I cannot believe that's what she meant all these years. And she was like, I've been saying the same thing. He was like, but you didn't say those words. It's something that she said. And sometimes it takes another person to help the communication, or to help you, not even just him, it help you, hey, express this a little bit different. Tell him, babe, I'm lacking. My love tank is running on empty. And I always say, in order to make deposit withdrawals at the end of the night, you have to make deposits throughout the day. Your deposits need to start first thing in the morning. If not, that account's going to be overdrawn. A lot of times people wait until they get into the bedroom to want to get some before, that romance really kicks in. By then it's too late. That well is dry, honey.
Or he. Look, they have shut down.
Nothing has marinated for the whole day. I don't know about y'all, but I like to marinate my meat all day. So, Jesus, I hope my daughter stopped listening to this. But I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
And even it goes the other way around, because my husband is words of affirmation. There's clearly nothing that I can physically do for him throughout the day. So what do? I send him little notes here and there, send him a text message, or when he comes home, I may have his towel laid out with a cute note that just says, I love you. Like the other day, I think I sent him a Cash App, right? Cash App. I had to send him a Cash App. And in the note section, I just put, I love you. Okay. And I didn't realize that that really meant a lot to him. I didn't know. And so one thing that my husband and I have started doing, we actually started last year, but then because of all the issues, we kind of got out of it. But saying to the other person, do you feel loved today? Have I made you feel loved today? Because sometimes the answer is going to be no. Or sometimes I'll ask him, or he'll ask me, what have you done for me? So if I'm talking to my husband, I'll say, what have you done for me lately to show me that you are into me, to show me that you love me, to show me that you care about me? Because we become in a pattern, we're so used to the person doing something every day that sometimes we take that for granted. So if he says, hey, remember I bought you tea late at night, or right before you went to bed, or do you remember that, I took your car out to go get gas? Those little things, and it'll make me go, ooh, that's right, you did. It helps me just remember that he's doing those things. It's not because I need to be reminded, but sometimes I do,
Absolutely. And I
you
think
know?
we all have to be reminded. Sometimes you just have to be reminded that, some people, um, you, you're in a relationship and that you're like, okay, well, they know I love them. Okay, they
It's
know
not
that, but
enough.
sometimes they need to hear it. They need
Right.
to feel it. They need you to show them. Not
Right.
everybody is just, okay, we've gone 6 months and nobody has said, I love you. I mean, who does that in a relationship?
Right.
When you're in a marriage, you need to be telling each other often that you love each other and you need
Right.
to show it.
Absolutely. And so I want to go ahead and go through our points really quick because I know we need to get ready to wrap this up.
Yes.
But point number 3, know that you're going to have disagreements and
Mhm.
it's going to feel like a gut wrenching. Sometimes I can't believe she said that. I can't believe he did that. Most men want to be respected. Out of the guys that I've spoken with, that is their number one thing. And a lot of times when we get bad about, no, sis, stop doing it.
If
Like,
my
for
husband
real.
disrespected one more time,
Right.
that's
Let
not.
me tell you, my husband's biggest thing, which is why my tone, I had to learn how to bring it down.
Yes.
I had to learn how to listen. I always tell my clients, listen twice and speak once, and then take a breath.
Mm-hmm.
If you know you're about to say something, you better hold your breath for just a second,
Yes.
So know that you're going to have certain disagreements. Know that certain disagreements are healthy. Until it starts messing with your mental health, that's when I would say, hey, it's time to get the help that you need and things like that. But know that you're going to have disagreements. Know that there's going to be things that you're going to talk about that doesn't feel good, but it's in those places that you can actually grow,
Mm-hmm.
as well, right? Step number 4, abuse is not love.
Mm.
A narcissistic personality type will make you feel like you are wrong, or they know how to switch it up on you. They know how to turn it around on you, or you may be the narcissist. Hello, you can change that. That
Yeah.
pattern can change. Just because this is how you've done something your entire life, it doesn't mean that that's how you need to do it, especially in your marriage. If you want your marriage to work, there are certain things that you're going to have to change to accommodate and to show the other person that I'm in this with you. I'm loving you. I'm feeling you. But abuse, I want to make that clear, is not love.
Wow.
Mental abuse, physical abuse, and spiritual abuse is definitely not love. Arlene, something that you said, you cannot pour from a cup that is
Mhm.
empty. You have to make sure you take time out for you. Never become so busy in your day that you don't begin to take time for you. Because if I don't take time for me, I am no good to my children, and I am definitely no good to my husband. Because by the end of the night, I am burnt out. I am tired. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to feel anything. Don't touch me. Don't look me. And I don't want to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to take some time just for you, then do it. Do it as well. I don't really have anything else. And I think that we kind of went through all the questions, but I do want to pose one more question is, if you are with somebody, and this is before marriage and even during marriage, can you be vulnerable with them? Because
Mm-hmm.
being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of trust, that you trust this person enough with your emotions. You trust them enough with your feelings. You trust them enough with your heart, to take care of it.
But that question is a really good question, simply because I just recently spoke to a young lady, maybe a week or so ago, and I
Hmm.
think this really applies to her because she's one of those. She's headstrong. She's very independent.
Right.
She has a very difficult time being vulnerable with her mate.
But that's something that she has to deal with. That has nothing to do with him. That means she doesn't
Absolutely.
have the ability to be
Absolutely.
vulnerable with anybody, because she needs to be in control to make sure. So what I would say to that is that there's something that may have happened in her past, that the minute she trusted somebody else to do something for her, they let her down.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times we have to go back to our childhood to figure out when that first happened.
Oh, and that's where most of it starts, in childhood.
It
And
does.
sometimes it takes you having to go and sit down with someone. It doesn't have to be a therapist. It doesn't have to, it can be someone that you feel comfortable enough talking to, that
Hmm.
you can bring up, and they can help you dig deep and bring up something that happened to the past. And you may not even realize that they're even related.
Right. And to be honest, you don't even have to, sometimes writing it out helps.
Absolutely.
I was going to be a part of this book where I shared, things that happened to me to get me to who I am today. And I had to write it out. And so I went all the way back. I mean, all the way back. And I started writing. And in that, it was so therapeutic. But in that, I realized that so many things hurt me. I was
Mm,
a very sensitive young girl. And I was very gullible and naive. And, I was in this little perfect little bubble.
mhm.
But because of that, so many things bothered me that I just never shared. Like I was a huge introvert. So my mom, she'll laugh now because she'll say I'm the complete opposite.
Mm,
Now, like I'm not going to give you room to walk over me. I know the word no. We need to utilize that word no sometimes to help save our relationship, to help save our marriage. If you feel like your marriage doesn't have to be in trouble or your relationship doesn't have to be in trouble for you to seek help. It really doesn't. Really, sometimes it's preparation for what may come up,
mhm.
So I'm excited because I cannot wait for my book to be fully out there and online and published so that people can get it because it dives into those conversations
Mhm.
that are not easy to have. Some of them are and some of them aren't. But what it does is it opens up the communication. So if you're having a hard time with how to have this hard conversation, the book you can say, oh, well, here it is in the book. Let's talk about this because it's in the book,
Right. Okay.
or before the book gets out, I do this game. Yeah, I tell my clients to do this game where in a jar, right? They write down just different things. They can find these questions on the internet. They can find them wherever. It may just be something that they really, really want to know. Make the question as detailed as possible and don't ask yes and no questions. Ask open-ended questions, questions that's going to cause the other person to really go in and think
Mhm.
about their answer and put them in there and then just draw questions
Randomly, yes.
randomly. Yes. So that's actually a really, really, really good game. If you're dealing with some other things, know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are going through the same thing. They just don't want to say it,
Oh, yeah.
you
But
know?
you have so many people who are so private, and they're able to benefit from others who are going through the same thing. But at some point, you have to be the one to give so people can benefit from you as
Right.
well.
And like I said, for me, I'm a complete open book. I would rather someone, even if I haven't shared something and someone has a question, inbox me. Yes, I'm a coach and yes, I get paid for doing what I do and I do a whole bunch of other things. But there's never been a person that has inboxed me asking for help and I turned them away because they couldn't book in that moment. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes I can just give you a simple answer or another coach, or like I said, I can only speak for me. I'm just
Mhm.
saying what I do. I don't just say, hey, well, go to my website and fill out this. Like, no, I want to hear what you have to say because a lot of times I had one girl reach out to me saying she wanted to commit suicide. And
Mm,
immediately in that moment, I reached out to her and she said, I didn't think you would do that. Like, I'm never going to be so high and mighty and all this other stuff because I understand that it was in my 2 divorces. It was in my abortions that I had. I had 2 abortions. It was in my use of drugs. It was in
mm,
my um, domestic abuse. It was in my pain that I
mhm.
met my purpose. My purpose now is to help other people come out of
Absolutely.
certain areas or even to just be prepared for what life may throw at you. It doesn't mean that it will. It just means you want to be prepared for it. So that's I thank God that I went through the things that I went through.
Yeah.
Which is why it's not just about love and marriage. It's not all roses. It's not all white picket fences. It's about the
Mhm.
stuff that's in between.
Hence the in between.
The in between that counts. What y'all gonna do with it now?
Yeah, that in between can be pretty deep. Also rough, but it's also necessary. Also
Absolutely.
necessary. Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh wow. Well, I tell you, Shay, I know
Time
we're gonna have
flew.
to get ready to wrap things up, but I really appreciate you coming on this evening, having this discussion with us.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure. If anyone has any questions, I mean, we got it up on the screen. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, please email us at sisterhood_beauty@yahoo.com. Give us an email and we can discuss what you might be interested in discussing with us here. So again, I appreciate everything.
Absolutely. And of course, if you would like to reach out to me, you
Mhm.
can either directly inbox me, as well. I answer all of my messages. I'm never going to be that busy where I cannot get back with someone. Or feel free to call or text 313-459-5613. Feel free to go to my website. I'm across all social media platforms as well.
Mhm.
Um, I do so many different things. So if you need to talk, just hit me up.
So, let me ask you this, Shay. Are you able to go back in the comment section here once we're done and put in your information if someone needs to reach out to you? Because I know you had it up there, but I don't know how long it lasts up there. So, like, if in the comment section you can put down your information, the title of your book, when it's going to drop, so we can
Yes.
all get that book and support you.
Thank
One last
you.
thing about the book, is it like couples you know, things that they do together in the book, or
They
they're
can. It
okay.
is definitely a book. It's called "Don't Let the I Do Become the I Don't," and what that means is that we're trying to stop divorce, either before you get married or while you're married. We want to make sure we have these conversations, as well. And so it really is that book that just asks a bunch of questions, and it is from uh, a Christian view. So I do have scriptures in there that you can stand on. I do give you from what God has said about marriages, as far as being vulnerable, but we go into all kinds of topics. So
Is it
not
a
just
write-in?
you can write in it.
Okay.
I am doing some workbooks as well. So I do have a few workbooks as well. And I like to personalize them based off what the person is going through sometimes. So I'll have a few inserts in which I can do that. But the book itself is really just one of those where you want to sit down and have a conversation. Oh, let's talk about this. So we don't just talk about the finances. We don't just talk about um, the actual relationship or the blended family or the pop-ups. We actually talk about hygiene as well and
Okay.
fellatio and all of, like,
Mhm.
we're going to open up those questions in that book and really just help you open up even more questions, and really get a clue as to who you're dealing with sometimes, because it's in their answers that'll make you be like, I don't know, y'all. I don't know about that.
It's funny you bring up hygiene because years ago I had a ex co-worker who told me about her husband, and everything was fine, but she said he had bad breath. And she couldn't figure out how to tell him he had
Right,
bad breath.
right, right. No, we can't go into it because we're running out of time, but
Yeah.
there is a way to do it,
Hmm.
and it was in having, I actually, on my podcast 2 years ago, I had a woman called Sex Coach Kane, and she came in and she opened up my eyes to so many things, and I was just like dumbfounded afterwards. But it helped me go into conversations with my husband just about, hey, I like this, or do you like this, or because
Yeah.
you want to be pleasing to the person that you're
Mhm.
with, or you should want to be. So
Want to be
yeah,
pleasing, and you also want to be pleased.
right there, period.
Yes, and we can just
Period.
leave it at that.
Period. All right, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. I know that Arlena is live every Tuesday with a different guest. From myself, I am live every Friday. Or maybe not live, but there is a show that comes out every Friday on Coach Shay Owens' page. So be sure to follow us, like us, subscribe to us, share out. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them and we'll go ahead and connect back with you. Till
Absolutely.
then.
And I guess I will see you all. Well, actually, I'm coming live this Thursday with Adrienne Atkinson. We're going to be talking about voting and the importance of getting out to get registered to vote in this election. And then next Tuesday, I'll be coming live with talking about chakras and crystals and that inner
Zen.
oral and everything. So join us this Thursday and next Tuesday on Let's Talk Tuesday and Let's Talk Thursday. Again, thank you, Shay, for being the guest speaker
Thank you.
tonight. I appreciate you very much for donating your time and your
Of course.
expertise. And you enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. I'm going to spend some time with my husband now.
Girl.